I never believed the stories people told about the forest near the old mining town. They said it was cursed, that once you entered past a certain point, the trees would shift behind you, hiding the path you came from. They said the forest had a memory, and that it didn't like to let go of people who walked in with secrets. I always thought it was just a story, just folklore to scare kids and keep teenagers from exploring too far into the woods. Until I went in myself. I didn't mean to stay long. Just a day. I needed to get away, to think, to breathe without the noise of the city grinding down my thoughts. So I packed light, just enough food and water, a sleeping bag, and my old journal. I left my phone in the car. It was meant to be quiet, but nothing was quiet in that forest. Not after nightfall. The first few hours were peaceful. The wind rustled through the tall pine trees like whispers between old ghosts. I followed a narrow trail barely visible beneath the fallen needles and moss. It felt ancient, like the path had existed long before I was born, maybe before any of us were. There were no birds. That was the first thing I noticed. No birds, no insects, not even the buzz of a fly, just the sound of my own boots against the dirt and the faint creaking of branches above me. I set up camp beside a small stream. The water was clear and cold, running quietly over smooth stones. I sat down on a log and opened my journal. But for some reason, I couldn't write. My mind felt observed. Like the moment I put something on paper, it would no longer be mine. I kept glancing over my shoulder. There was no one there. At least, I thought there wasn't. Night fell quickly in the forest. 1 minute the sunlight filtered through the branches in soft golden streaks, then it was gone. The pines became shadows, towering and silent. My fire crackled in the middle of the dark, the only source of warmth and light. I tried not to think about how far I was from anyone else. No reception, no roads, just trees and the deep hush of the forest pressing in from all directions. Around midnight I heard something. It wasn't an animal. I've heard plenty of wildlife before, deer, owls, even wolves. This was something different. It was faint at first, a soft rhythm, like footsteps, but not quite. The spacing was strange, like someone walking on broken wood. I turned off my flashlight and sat still by the fire. Every instinct told me to listen. There it was again, closer now. A crack. A shift of weight on damp ground. A breath? I gripped the knife I kept in my bag. Then silence. Pure, perfect silence. I didn't sleep that night. Even after the noises stopped, I kept hearing them in my head. Imagined footsteps crunching leaves. A figure behind every tree. When the fire finally died, I didn't relight it. I just sat in the dark, clutching the knife, trying to control my breathing. I kept thinking, why would someone be out here? No cabins nearby, no trails, just me and them. Sometime past dawn, I must have passed out from exhaustion. I woke to cold gray light, my neck stiff and my back sore. The forest looked normal again, calm, empty, but I wasn't convinced. I needed to leave. I packed quickly, trying to ignore the feeling that I was being watched. Every time I turned, there was nothing, but my gut told me something was still near. The path out was barely visible now. Fallen branches and overgrowth had crept in overnight, as if the forest had tried to seal me in. I stepped onto the trail, and something caught my eye. A mark on a tree. 3 long scratches, deep and fresh. Too high for any animal I knew. It wasn't a warning. It was a message. I kept walking. The air felt different, thicker somehow. Every step I took felt like it echoed, though there was no sound. Just the quiet hum of nature. And something else, just beneath it. A pressure. A presence. I knew I should move fast, but my body felt heavy, like the forest wanted to hold me back. The further I walked, the more the woods changed. Trees grew closer together. The light dimmed. Shadows stretched unnaturally long across the dirt. I glanced at my phone. No signal, of course. Just a black screen, reflecting my own tired face. That's when I saw it again. Another mark. Not on a tree this time, but on the ground. A footprint. Bare, human, deep enough that it couldn't be old. But what chilled me was that it wasn't alone. There were more. A trail, leading off the path, into the thicker trees, and in a direction I didn't want to go. But something pulled at me. Not curiosity, not bravery, something deeper, older, like a whisper inside my bones. I stepped off the trail. Immediately the silence deepened, not the comforting silence of the woods, but a dense, unnatural kind. Even the wind had stopped moving the leaves. The footprints were clearer now, pressed deep into the moist earth, winding like a thread leading me somewhere I wasn't sure I wanted to go. I followed them. Each step made my stomach tighten. I started hearing things, cracks, whispers, a rustle just beyond sight. I kept telling myself it was just wildlife, but deep down, I didn't believe it. Then I saw something between the trees. It wasn't human, at least not anymore. Tall, thin, and impossibly still, its limbs slightly too long, its head cocked to the side like it was listening. It stood by a tree, blending in almost perfectly with the bark, but it was watching me. I stopped breathing. I couldn't move. My pulse hammered in my ears, then it moved. One step, quiet, then another. Not toward me, but following the footprints. It was tracking them too. And that's when I realized the footprints I was following didn't belong to the thing in the woods. They belonged to someone else. And that thing, it was hunting them. I crouched low behind a thick tree, holding my breath. The thing kept walking, slow and deliberate, following the same trail I had been. Every movement it made seemed careful, like it was more than just hunting, it was tracking something it knew well. My mind raced. Who was it following? And did they even know? I couldn't explain why, but something inside me said whoever left those footprints, they were still out there, and alive. For now. I waited until the creature had vanished deeper into the woods before I dared move again. I had two choices: turn around and leave this nightmare behind, or follow the thing and maybe, just maybe, find answers. I chose to follow. The trail curved left, then dipped into a small gully where the ground was soft and soggy. My boots sank with each step, but the footprints continued. And then, a sound. A voice. Not loud, but clear. A whisper. Help! I froze. It was ahead. Just beyond the next cluster of trees. Another whisper, closer now. Please. And then, silence again. But that silence felt alive, like it was watching me. I stepped forward, cautiously. One foot, then another. Every twig I crushed beneath my boots sounded like a gunshot in the stillness. Hello? I whispered. Is someone there? No answer. But the air had shifted. The woods felt tighter, like the trees had moved in closer while I wasn't looking. I could barely hear the wind now, just the soft crunch of my steps and the pounding of my heart. Then I saw it, a figure, slumped against the base of a large tree, arms limp, head tilted to the side. I rushed forward, half expecting to see something horrible, but as I got closer, I stopped. It wasn't a person. It was a coat, stuffed with leaves and dirt. Boots at the end, like someone tried to make it look human, a decoy. I spun around, instinct kicking in, and there it was, the creature, closer than ever before, standing still, no more than 20 feet away, in the shadows between the trees, watching me. I don't know how long we stood like that, me frozen, it unmoving. Then it tilted its head again, and slowly, so slowly, raised one long arm and pointed behind me. I didn't want to look, but I had to. When I turned, there was a second figure standing behind me, closer than the first. I couldn't breathe. There was someone or something behind me. I felt it. The air between us changed, heavy, thick. But I didn't turn again. Instead, I took a slow step sideways, eyes locked on the first creature, still pointing at me. The second figure hadn't moved, but I could hear it breathing. Shallow, rhythmic, close. I finally snapped. With every ounce of willpower, I turned and ran. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see what followed. Branches whipped at my face, thorns scratched my legs, but I kept running, deeper into the woods, away from the figures, from the whispers, from the fake body beneath the tree. It felt like I was running forever. Then, light. A soft orange glow between the trees. A cabin? My heart lifted just a little. I stumbled toward it. It was real. A small wooden structure, weathered and old, but standing. A dim lantern flickered through a cracked window. I banged on the door. "Please, someone's out there. Help me." The door creaked open, on its own. No one behind it, just darkness. I stood frozen in front of the open door. The lantern inside flickered weakly, casting long shadows that danced along the cracked walls. No sound, no wind, just the hum of silence and that awful feeling in my chest, like I had stepped into something I wasn't supposed to. I whispered, "Hello?" No answer, but the warmth from inside was real, and the cold outside gnawed at my bones. I didn't want to enter, but I didn't want to stay in the forest either. I crossed the threshold. The door creaked shut behind me, on its own. I spun around. No one. Just the sound of wood settling, or at least that's what I told myself. Inside, the cabin was empty. Dusty shelves lined the walls. A table sat in the center with two mismatched chairs. Everything looked like it hadn't been touched in years, except the lantern, and the cup beside it, half full, still warm. Someone had just been here. My breath caught. Then came the sound. Slow, steady footsteps. From the ceiling. I tilted my head upward, heart pounding in my chest. The footsteps were slow, deliberate, as if whoever, or whatever was up there wanted me to hear them. Wood creaked under the shifting weight above. A pause. Then, another step. There was no staircase to the attic, just a square hatch in the ceiling. I backed away slowly, not taking my eyes off the spot where the sound came from. The hatch didn't move, but something was definitely up there. My voice was barely a whisper. "Is someone there?" Silence. Then, a soft knock from above, just once. My breath hitched, and the room felt colder. I didn't know if it was fear or something else. I reached into my backpack and pulled out the small flashlight. I aimed it toward the ceiling, illuminating the hatch. Nothing moved. But the beam of light caught something strange. Scratch marks, long, shallow grooves, trailing outward from the edges of the hatch. Like something had tried to claw its way out, or in. I should have run, but I didn't. Instead, I reached up and pushed gently on the hatch. It didn't open. Not fully. Just enough for something on the other side to push back. The hatch moved, just slightly, but enough to send a deep chill down my spine. Something was definitely on the other side. I held my breath, hand frozen midair, still touching the wooden panel. Then, softly, the sound came again. A breath, not mine. A faint, raspy exhale, right above me. I stepped back, fast. My heel bumped into the edge of the couch and nearly made me stumble. The hatch didn't move again, but the air felt different now. Heavier, charged, like something unseen was watching me. I scanned the room. Every shadow suddenly felt alive. The trees outside whispered against the walls. I needed to leave the cabin. I didn't know where I'd go in the middle of the woods at night, but staying inside felt more dangerous. Just as I turned to grab my bag, the lights flickered. Once, twice. Then everything turned back on. Silence. No more knocking, no more footsteps. No breath from the ceiling. But the worst part, the hatch, was now slightly open, about 2 inches, enough for an eye to look down. And I swear I saw it blink. I never went back into the attic. The moment I saw that eye blink down at me, I grabbed my bag and ran into the woods. I didn't think. I didn't look back. The rain was falling, the wind howling, branches cutting at my skin, but nothing was worse than what was inside that cabin. I ran until my legs gave out. Eventually, I found a road and flagged down a passing truck. The driver was hesitant, but seeing the blood on my hands and the panic on my face, he let me in. I told him bits and pieces, just enough. Not the whole truth. Who would believe it? Weeks passed. I stayed with friends, then with family. The cabin stayed empty. I never told anyone exactly where it was. Part of me hoped the forest would swallow it whole, bury it under pine needles and thyme. But I still dream about it. The eye, the knock, the breath that wasn't mine. I don't know what it wanted. I don't know why it waited so long to show itself. Maybe it had been watching me for days. Maybe it needed me to see it to finally be free. Or maybe it's still watching. Some nights I hear tapping at my window, a slow, deliberate knock. And I remember, the eye never blinked twice.